Hey viewers, welcome to Chunner Checks It Out. My name's Chunner, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about the One Piece manga chapter 1170. This is the newest manga chapter that came out on January 4th, 2026. It is about one arc ahead of the last anime episode. This week there is no news to talk about, so I'm going to just go ahead and start talking about the manga. And before that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the new arc. I did notice we are on episode 1170, and being on 1170, the anime ends about 45 chapters before this. Each chapter comes out almost every week. Sometimes I know that there have been a couple weeks. So it's been almost probably a year or more since we've been into Elbaf. So I did have to go back and review some of the things that we've learned in Elbaf, as it's been quite a while. I feel like some of it was a little bit confusing, but also there was a lot of information that has been revealed in Elbaf, and especially with this new manga chapter 1170, we kind of get the culmination of an event that happens, and I had to review this character because I forgot quite a bit of what actually happened, as Oda tends to sprinkle things here and there, and then we went into a backstory, and then we're back here. So let's go ahead and talk about 1170 with my new knowledge of just kind of reviewing what actually happened with some of these characters. Yo. Let's check it out. So in the last manga chapter, we saw King Harold was turned into the Shallow or Depths Covenant, and King Harold wanted to eat the storied relic of Elbaf, the Forbidden Devil Fruit. And so we saw Shanks and Scooper Gabbin kind of detaining him, using their Supreme King Haki to damage him, sort of. And we saw when Harold had come to his senses a little while ago, he was talking to Loki. What he actually wanted Loki to do was to have Loki eat this Forbidden Devil Fruit so that he wouldn't get it, because he was under the control of Emu with that tattoo on his arm. So then we go into chapter 1170. In the beginning of 1170, we see a hammer that kind of would resemble what I would probably say would be kind of like Thor's hammer, and the hammer is being thrown at Loki. After review from some of the previous chapters, I realized that the hammer already has a name, and the name is Ragnir. Ragnir, of course, in Norse mythology, as this whole Elbaf arc is kind of centered around Norse mythology, Ragnir, I would first think of Ragnarok. I'm not really too familiar with Norse mythology, but Ragnarok is kind of the fire, hell, and brimstone of Norse mythology. And so the hammer is named Ragnir. And it seemed that Ragnir was thrown at Loki, and it was also saying that Ragnir was the protector of the legendary devil fruit. You had to be chosen by Ragnir to eat this fruit, and that is why no one has been able to eat this fruit. Then we see that the Ragnir hammer is moving on its own and is very heavy. It was able to break the floor near Loki, and Loki almost fell into the hole. And it seems Loki also has Supreme King Haki, as he has a hammer of his own, and he's able to infuse his Haki into his hammer, and they use his hammer to hit the hammer that's moving on its own. And we see that the hammer is actually maybe a squirrel, and I think they talked about this before, but now I'm wondering if the hammer was able to eat the squirrel fruit or something like that. And so the hammer, like inanimate objects, turned into devil fruits. We have seen this before, but because Loki infused his hammer with the Supreme King Haki and attacked Ragnir, Loki's hammer actually shattered, but dealing that blow was able to kind of stun Ragnir and Ragnar has now accepted Loki as someone who qualifies to eat this fabled legendary devil fruit. Then Loki comes back and faces Harold, and he is wielding Ragnar after he has eaten the legendary devil fruit. And it seems like when he's facing Harold, Harold realizes that Loki does have Supreme King Haki. We also see that Loki is able to transform into some sort of horse, potentially with fire, kind of like the Five Elders Noose Jiro maybe. But looking at some Norse mythology, there is a character named Sleipnir. Sleipnir takes the form of a horse figure. It looks like maybe Sleipnir has 8 legs, but is the child of Loki and a horse that Odin uses. So I'm wondering if Loki is able to kind of like the Nika Nika fruit, it's going to be some kind of Zoan type of fruit, and maybe it's Sleipnir. I'm not really sure. I also, when I went back, did see that when they were talking about Loki, they said that Loki killed a horse at some point in time. So I'm wondering if that's Sleipnir. Also, I'm wondering with the 5 elders, Noose Jiro, who is able to transform into a fire horse as well. I'm wondering if that has anything to do with it. The other thing that comes to mind is Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider in the Marvel universe does ride a fire horse, but it looks like Ghost Rider's horse name is Banshee. And so I'm wondering if that has anything to do with Norse mythology. Later, I know it is turned into a motorcycle. We also see that Loki killed a horse when he was younger. I'm not really sure where all this comes from. In the end, Harold, after getting hit with Supreme King Haki, kind of reverts back to himself instead of being controlled by Emu, as we've seen before in God Valley with Garp and Roger. They were able to hit rocks with a powerful blast of Supreme King Haki, which kind of knocked him back to his senses at some points in time. And so it looks like that's the same case here with Loki using a powerful blast of Supreme King Haki. Noted that Roger and Garp had to do it both together. Same with Shanks and Scooper Gabbin when they were attacking King Harold. But Loki, it seems like, is able to do it by himself along with Ragnar. I'm not sure if Ragnar has anything to do with that as well. But Loki is able to take out King Harold. And there is a very heartwarming scene at the end of King Harold wanting to change the whole culture of Elbaf and be able to fit in with the world government and be accepted. Now Harold is asking his very own son Loki to take his own life. Loki says, "I'll never forgive you for this. How dare you force me to take out Harold," because Harold knows that he's being controlled by Emu and he knows that this is best for the country. Also, at some point in time, there's a conversation between Loki and Harold, and Loki says, "Hey, are you back to your senses now?" And Harold says, "Only for the moment. GFK, don't be mistaken." I wasn't sure what GFK means. When I looked up GFK, it looks like growth from knowledge. I'm not sure if that's something that is what this section is referring to or if that's something else. So it looks like this is kind of the end of the full backstory of Loki. Looking back and thinking about it now, some of the parts are a little bit confusing to me as I don't remember, again, all of these chapters. But it did say that 6 years ago, Loki was captured by Shanks and chained up to the Atom Tree where we originally found Loki with Luffy. And so it seems like here, obviously Shanks and Scooper Gabbin are working together. I'm wondering if it was actually Shanks' twin brother Shamrock who was the one that captured Loki and pinned him to the tree. Why would Shanks pin Loki to the tree? Potentially Loki was, out of control. I'm not really sure. The whole Loki story, obviously, it seems like the Giants of Elbaf didn't get the whole story, as the main story was just between Chief Ja Rule, Shanks, Scooper Gabbin, and Loki. And those are the only people who seem to actually know what happened, along with King Harold, who is no longer with us. So all the blame was pinned on Loki. It's always been pinned on Loki because of the way that he was brought up, his real mom not liking him, and just kind of every time that Harold was away, Loki took the blame basically for everything and quite a lot of things. The previous chapters, it did say that this was where Lin was potentially from, who was Big Mom. And Big Mom was defeated. Now I'm not sure if she's actually gone, but she seems to have been defeated. And it's said that Lin killed Chief Ja Rule. I forgot what chapter that was, but it did say that Lin killed Chief Ja Rule. And Chief Ja Rule currently has a sword through his head placed there by Harold. And so I'm wondering if he has some sort of devil fruit as well. It's kind of interesting because it said that Lin killed Chief Ja Rule. So was that Chief Ja Rule's father, and then his son's name was also Ja Rule? Or is that somebody completely different? Also thinking about the amount of people who have Supreme King Haki, there are quite a few. Obviously, there are the 4 warlords. You can think of Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido. Blackbeard probably has Supreme King Haki, I'm assuming. And then you have Luffy and Zoro. Potentially Sanji, I'm not really sure. Shanks, Rayleigh, Scooper Gabbin, Roger, Garp, Rocks, along with potentially, it seems like the 5 elders have Supreme Haki as well. I'm really wondering about that. It did seem like when they were getting teleported to Egghead during the anime, it seemed like they were displaying Supreme King Haki, so it seems like they have Supreme King Haki as well. I'm also wondering if Emu has Supreme King Haki. I'm assuming that Emu has Supreme King Haki. And same with the God Knights. It's showing that Harold had Supreme King Haki, so I'm wondering if all the God Knights have Supreme King Haki as well. So I'm wondering if Garling has Supreme King Haki as well. He is now a new 5 Elder who took the place of Saturn. And if Shanks has Supreme King Haki, I'm guessing that Shamrock has Supreme King Haki as well. We also saw, I think it was Boa that has Supreme King Haki. Did Kid and Law have Supreme King Haki? I feel like they didn't. Maybe Law had Supreme King Haki, but I don't think Kid had Supreme King Haki. Does that mean that everybody with D has Supreme King Haki? Maybe this is me getting a little bit confused. I'm wondering if the 3 admirals had Supreme King Haki, or the 2 additional admirals as well. I wonder if Sengoku has Supreme King Haki. Dragon probably has Supreme King Haki. Did Sabo and Ace have Supreme King Haki? Anyway, that was chapter 1170. So I'm guessing that now we are finally going to go back to present day, as I feel like that was the complete backstory of Loki. And so we should go back to Elbaf and everyone fighting the nightmares and the giants having been taken over by Emu. We also saw that Gunko, who was the God Knight, was attacking along with, was it Garling that was attacking as well? I don't really remember now who was attacking. And I feel like there was one other person that was, I'm assuming, a God Knight who was attacking as well. We also saw that maybe Brook knew Gunko, so that would be kind of interesting to see what's going on there. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think in the comments below. And thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.